Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Career Chat. I'm Krista Harmon. I'm one of the career readiness consultants with the Kent Intermediate School District, and I'm excited to welcome Chris McKellar. He is the founder and owner of Love's Ice Cream here in Grand Rapids. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you so much.
Well, I know the students have been learning about different careers in business, and you're actually a business owner. When you were back in high school, did you think you'd grow up to be an owner of an ice cream company? Tell us about that early path.
Not in a million years. Man, in high school, I was still under the impression that I was interested in sports. I was kind of, listening more to what my family influences were and listening less to myself. And not that family influences are bad, but that's the time of life where you're still in that pocket of that's your world. And I think the pursuit of sort of looking inside and figuring out what really gets you ticking and what you're drawn to is where you should be, kind of the path you should be hunting down it, because that's ultimately where I found this. But I had no idea that I would wind up in food. I was not interested in food. I was a picky eater. But yeah, one thing led to another. And I wound up here, and 8 years later, we're still making ice cream.
So I love the advice you've already given for students to really start doing some of that self-assessment and figuring out what makes them tick and not rely on other people's thoughts and opinions, although that's certainly a piece of it, to get people's thoughts and opinions. So when you're in high school, were you a good student? Did you have an inkling that you wanted to go into business? Tell us what your thoughts were back then.
Sure. When I was in high school, I was I didn't have as big of a world view as I do now, because we didn't have the information technology, right? So the internet was kind of just burgeoning. So that was an intriguing thing, but we didn't know where it was going to take the world when I was 16. So I think my area of thought was, well, I need to go to college because that's what society expects of us. These days, it's certainly an option, but it's not the only option. It's advisable from a standpoint of you learn a lot about the world and yourself, but it's also it can get you into a world of debt and you don't know what to do with yourself after that. So it's a calculated thing, and I think students in high school need to be advised of the risks and the benefits, especially depending on the career path that you're looking for. So I didn't think about being a business owner really ever. I thought I was getting into music. I was playing guitar and started a band, and so that was really heavy on my mind of what I could do as a musician. Didn't think about food at all. But then as I started thinking about college, I couldn't decide on a particular career. I didn't know that I wanted to be XYZ career. So what I landed on was, I'll go to Grand Rapids Community College first. I'll get my gen eds kind of out of the way, my base college curriculum. And maybe through then I'll sort of blossom into what I wanted to pursue and transfer out to a 4-year university, which I did at Grand Valley. But business administration is what I went into, because I figured if I could learn about business, I could apply that anywhere. It doesn't matter the industry. Pretty much everything is a business. A nonprofit is a business. A church is a business. Love's Ice Cream is a business. It's just kind of, there's some nuances there of how it works. And I thought that would be the path. But I was artistic and interested in creative things. And so I thought maybe my path would be in business toward the marketing side of the world, to where I could use my graphic design ability and I could use my creative musical side to pursue something in that direction. And then life took me to where I am now.
So when you were at Grand Valley, do you remember some of the angst of trying to decide exactly what major, and like, why didn't you end up doing marketing or graphic design? Like, was it really just that thought of business administration is going to be a better, broader, give me more opportunity major? Was that your thinking then?
Well, I think I made up my mind early on that I was going to get a business degree, and then I selected an emphasis in marketing because that for me appealed to my strengths, as opposed to finance and accounting. in other areas like management and things, marketing seemed like the right fit for me. And I did wind up in a career right out of college in marketing. So it was like the direct path for me. I was in college, and at the end of high school, I was working for a musical instrument company that sold guitars and drums and that kind of stuff. And I started out teaching lessons for a couple of years, and then I became a salesperson. I was selling those things on the sales floor. And then I was in school in business for marketing, and then the owners of a very small business approached me and said, "Hey, we're growing. We'd like to have a marketing person on our staff. Would you like to be that person?" And I hadn't quite graduated yet, so this is perfect. Like, I had my salary job lined up for me before I graduated, and that was just by proximity. I didn't pursue it; just kind of happened across it, and I thought, yeah, great. I love this opportunity to help them bring the message of what they do to sell musical instruments to the community, and the lesson program and all sorts of stuff. So I learned a ton, and that's what ultimately paved my way to get to where I am now, because my bridge was that I wanted to go tour the country with my band. And so I needed a business to pay my mortgage and my bills from the road. And so I took my web development skills that I learned on that job, started a company doing the exact same thing, and I was able to pay my bills from the road while I toured with my band for the better part of 4 years. So that's how I got to that point. And then in my little niche industry, got kind of political, conversation for another time, but I decided I needed to get out, and I wanted to sell my business to a competitor. I literally called up my competitor on the phone, said, "I want to sell. Are you interested in buying my business?" They said yes. Several months later, we had a deal, and I got out of that altogether. And that's when I said, I want to do something in food. And yeah, just a little bit of networking. I'm not a natural networker, but a little bit of networking, and I landed here at the downtown market in Grand Rapids as an ice cream maker.
What I think I hear too in your story, which is great, is that you were working hard. You were showing your best to that company you were working for in college. You know, you were showing the work ethic probably, and the values that owner was like, "Hey, we'd like to hire you on." And how that networking piece. So we've been encouraging the young people, to really always do your best in network. You never know who's going to lead you to the next thing. And the fact that you were gaining the skills along the way, and it was part of keep putting things in your toolbox that you kept learning. And I think that there's a lot of kids wonder, like, how will I know how to do that? And as you showed, it's just doing it and keep gaining experiences, which then lead you to the next thing.
I think that's hitting it right on the head. And when you look backwards, it's easier to see how those things came together. When you're in it,
Right.
Even say you get your first job when you're in high school, there's so much to learn about life, career, business, all that from that work. So I don't care. My first job was stocking shelves at Target, but I was 15 years old. I wasn't paying attention. I was stocking shelves like I was told to. What I should have been doing is connecting more dots and saying, okay, how is it that they know that I need to put 6 cans on the shelf right here? Oh, they have an inventory system that it analyzes sales and past sales history data, and it's then figuring out that we only have 3 on the shelf. We need to put 6 more on the shelf. Oh, that's interesting. So there's a job there of someone who has to build those systems and build the computer programs to do that and maintain those systems. And every component of it, if you just open your eyes and kind of observe, and why is that? Oh, what how does this apply? Like, how would they do it how would they do it at a competitor? How would they do it in a salon and instead of an ice cream shop? And you can really learn a lot just from opening your eyes and kind of absorbing, and ask questions of managers and owners, because in the most humble sort of way, I'm a wealth of information to my staff, but I'm a completely underutilized resource because I think people are afraid to ask questions. They feel like they're going to bother me, but I'm happy to share, and I'm happy to help educate and connect people with resources and give people ideas. Yeah.
I mean, literally the kids, you guys could all go home today. What he just said is the golden nugget for the day. Like, literally open your eyes, you guys, as you move forward, and be looking outside of what's right in front of you and start to make those connections. I love the way you articulated that, Chris. It's fantastic. And you also heard him say, which we've heard our other role models say, they want to help you guys. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Reach out and take the opportunity to email them when they offer you their emails, and do an informational interview directly. I just love that, Chris. That's so great. That's why I love these events.
Of course,
you know?
Of course, do it respectfully and respect people's time. But as long as
Absolutely.
you're not abusing that, then people are going to be generous with their time and information. I mean, it's one thing to call me calling my competitor and saying, I love this product of yours. How do you do it? That's a different story. But if you're working for an organization, think about the job task that you're doing. How does that task make money for that business? Not only does it help the business to thrive, it provides that. I was just talking to my staff yesterday, and they said, well, I'd like to do this for your business. And I said, yes, I'm the shepherd of the ecosystem here, but ultimately it's not just about me. I just happen to be a leader role here. And sure, I can benefit when we do well, but that's really not how it all works. It's very interconnected. And so when you say something kind to a customer, that actually impacts everybody. When you say something negative to a customer or about a customer to a colleague, that impacts the whole ecosystem, and you can pollute it very quickly, or you can really, really make it wonderful just by having a positive attitude and learning. And I think some of that's being lost in today's view of early jobs. It's people don't have the same attitude maybe as they did toward it, and I think we need to revitalize that, because jobs aren't permanent, they're not forever, but they are learning experiences. And I'll let you lead, because I feel like I'm talking a lot.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. It does remind me of the story when I was a waitress, though, and pieces of cheesecake would break often. And finally, our owner stopped and helped us understand the economy of that broken cheesecake. Not only did he have to pay for it, but now he didn't make the profit off selling that broken cheesecake. And just having him explain that to us, it was like, because we just saw it as a piece of broken cheesecake, and something we got to eat then. And maybe some of those cheesecakes were accidentally broken. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was like, to hear the financial impact on the company we were all working for was really opening a lot of our eyes. But again, I think it takes good leaders to help educate, right? So
we've had a lot of melted ice cream over the years.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's one for sure. So so you ended up at the downtown market. So you were never a big fan of the food and beverage industry. So how did you come up with Loves? Is that something you bought from someone else, or did you start it from the ground up? Kind of give us that story.
Yeah, well, I wasn't into food because we ate to live at home. My parents were working. My mom was a teacher. My dad's a electrical engineer, and they were more concerned about making sure we had something versus how good it was. And so later in life, I realized that there's a lot more to this, and I think at the core of it, it was control. I felt like I didn't have control over the one thing, the one major thing that was keeping me alive, which is eating. That's generalized, right? But I thought, man, I don't know how to cook much. I don't know what's really good for me. I don't know. Oh my goodness, it almost felt a mild panic. And so my wife and I set out to learn how to cook. Not so much that we decided, but we just sort of started the journey. And that really sparked my interest in food. So once my web development business was finding its way toward its end of when I needed to exit, I thought I need to do something with food, because this is where my passion lies. And this was like the spark in me that said, I'm so fascinated and so intrigued and so interested by it that I think my career needs to be built around it. It's not advice for everyone, because sometimes it's best to just leave a hobby. And just because you're good at it doesn't mean you need to start a business doing it. Okay, that's really important. We're told all the time, oh, you're good at that. You knit scarves. You should start a business. Not true. You should only start a business if you think you can build a business around it and you would enjoy building the business around it, because it's not about making the scarves. That's secondary. It's not about making ice cream. There's a whole suite of things that go beyond just making the ice cream. That's only a small part of it. So as far as how I decided to launch this, really, I was looking for an opportunity in food. I decided to go to culinary school to learn a little bit about that industry, learn a little bit how it's done, and in hope through that kind of being in that sort of world, I would be connected with the right opportunity. And sure enough, I actually started teaching cooking lessons. And with my business partner, we met a realtor to look at a space to open up a teaching kitchen in a retail store. And I was I'm not sure about it, but I met the realtor. He mentioned downtown market looking for an ice cream maker. I said, I make ice cream at home. Maybe that's my opportunity. So I called him up. He had said, bring samples. I brought samples. They liked it. I signed a lease, and here I am. So
that happened pretty fast. Then. So you were already making ice cream on your own at home.
Yeah,
so
but for friends and family, yeah.
It was, just kind of like that opportunity presented itself. That's amazing.
I really feel like it fell in my lap. It wasn't handed to me. I still had to work for it. I had to make the samples. I had to give a presentation. I had to write a business plan.
Right.
But it felt like this is a thing that could make money and be fun to do, because that's where the name comes from. Everyone loves ice cream. So that's kind of the I don't know, the one-liner. I don't know, the thing that I was like, wow, everyone likes this. How could I go wrong?
Absolutely.
Little did I know. It's hard.
But I think there's a characteristic too, because I have a small business on the side, and I was always just kind of admired entrepreneurs. Like there seems to be this risk, and you're just kind of adventurous people to just go for it. And I just want to point out too, the fact that you continued your education in culinary school to start to pursue it and see where it would take you to. Like you didn't just read magazines about food, right? You took an action step. And so just as an encouragement to young people, tell us more.
Yeah. So on the side, I was learning to cook on my own merit. So I was watching TV shows, I was reading cookbooks, I was researching like crazy. And really the most important thing was doing it. So I was cooking, I was trying a recipe, I was tasting it, I was analyzing it, I was refining my understanding and ability of it all, and sort of building that cache of knowledge. And more I found out, the more and more it's like, I don't know, I want to learn more, because the world is so huge and there's so many ingredients that we're not exposed to. Even 10 years ago, we have so many more ingredients today than we did 10 years ago because of the globalization of the world. So in many ways, that's really fantastic for someone who's looking into food. But yeah, I would say, oh boy, I'm sure you're going to turn it over to you, because I'll just ramble.
I was going to have you, because I know for me and probably the students too, like, wow, so here you just like start this business. You didn't, no one had to show you. So, and tell us some of the roles. I mean, it's a small company. So how do you know how to run a business? Like, how do you know how to do the books? How do you know how to do inventory? Tell us about some of the other jobs you have to do.
Sure. So first off, remember, I didn't ever dream I wanted to be a business owner. It happened. It just kind of happened with the opportunities that unraveled. So I started by doing my own thing, developing web. And when I sold that, I had a little bit of money. So then I said, okay, well, I did my own thing there. So I trust myself. I think I'm good enough to do it on my own here, but I'm going to need employees. So really, I just started thinking, breaking it apart. If I'm going to open a business, I need equipment to make the product. So really I was planning my business without really, now that I know, I would have bought some books and stuff, industry books, but it was a lot of trial and error and a lot of researching online. Honestly, I would advise finding a mentor, because I didn't have that. And so I felt like I was going it quite alone. I still feel that sometimes. But yeah, as far as all the different duties, you're not prepared for it. You have to do, the best way to learn this is actually a book called, oh gosh, now the name's going to escape me. I'll think of it here in a minute.
That's okay.
But it's a book about it's called E-Myth, the E-Myth, the myth of the entrepreneur, where just because you're good at something, you think you should go start a business doing that. And it really breaks this down for you in a story kind of format that's pretty easy to follow. But it says that just because you're good at something could mean that you're actually good at something, and not that you're good at running and managing a business. So it breaks it down to say, as a business of one, you're every job. So you are the purchaser, you're the not only the CEO, you're the janitor, you're the pay, you're the accounting, you're the lawyer in some ways, you're your customer service, every department is you. And then when it comes time to hire someone, you can hand off some of those duties to that person, but you're still the rest of them. And then as the organization grows and you have more and more duties, you can offload some of those tasks, but you're still on the hook for everything else and responsible for the work that is done by all the other people. So you don't really know this going into it. And then it kind of creeps up on you. And I'm not saying that it's a negative thing, but it's also not something that's talked about really in generalized societal terms. Like in a business class, you might learn about some of these things, but I also, in going through business school, didn't feel like I was given that sort of real world, here's how it is. You're also going to be a counselor. And so that's the role that you embrace if that's what you want to do. But ultimately, that's probably why a lot of businesses fail. They are, first of all, undercapitalized. You need to have money to start a business, whether you borrow it or you earn it and then use that. You have to have that to start with, or you will fail. And then you need to be prepared that you got to do all the jobs.
Yeah. So Loves right now then, Chris, like how many hours do you work a week then? Is it where you've been able to unload some of the marketing tasks, for example, or hiring tasks, or is it still like all your baby?
Well, it's an interesting question because you're also never off the clock per se. You can be, depends on your industry. In mine, I have freezer alerts that come 24 hours a day. So if any of my freezers get warm, then it comes to my phone. Any staff person has a schedule conflict, sick, some sort of issue, comes to my phone. So I'm always on. So I can't say that I work 24 hours a day because I certainly don't, but probably 50 to 60 hours a week on average. When I started, it was probably more like 70 to 80. But I'm also one who prioritizes my health and well-being. So I make sure to prioritize sleep and that I eat well, because I feel like without those things, I'm not be able to function, and that's putting my body at risk for, getting sick and just all the host of things that come from bearing stress that way, especially in a tired, being tired. So it's sleep and food are two things I will not compromise on, period. Like it doesn't, any amount of money in the world, I will not compromise sleep and food. It's just not worth it.
It's so important to hear those healthy boundaries for this kind of environment. Well, the students always like to know, what is the favorite part then of owning an ice cream company, and what's the thing that causes you the most stress? Probably answering something at 2 a.m. when your freezer goes out.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, I was just wondering what your favorite part of your job is, and what's the part that causes you the most stress, which is probably the freezers going out, I would think.
My favorite part of the job for me personally is the part that's most fulfilling is when I get to create. And that's a lot of different things. I can not only create ice cream because that's fun and it's delicious. We're a confectioner too, so we create chocolate things. But I also create processes that solve problems and keep people on the same page because we developed a system that we communicate better, or implementing certain equipment or tools that are the right tools for the job. That's the thing that fulfills me most, because then I know that that we are doing a good job, that we lowering the stress, that kind of stuff. So those are a couple of the highlights. I like knowing that I can teach and inspire people. I think that's really, really good, because I've been inspired by food and being creative and eating good food and supporting producers, suppliers that have really good business models and they treat the earth and their staff well. Those things are really important to me, because I think that it makes doing all this hard work worth doing, as opposed to just counting the dollars at the end of the day. Difficult part is kind of what I mentioned before. we're humans, and we all have our own wants and needs. We're definitely more alike than we are different, but it's like an untamed beast. It really is. It's just part of the job. It's part of life. And it actually is kind of one of the best things in a way, but it's also one of the hardest and most difficult is yeah, managing staff, and just making sure needs are met, and yeah, trying to be the best in not the best circumstances is hard.
Well, what I heard you say, teaching and inspiring people and really enjoying developing the processes. I'm curious to know if you see yourself maybe starting another business. You've already, at such a young age, you've already had 2 businesses. Do you ever aspire to something else, or do you feel like this has so much room for potential growth that you're just enjoying the ride?
I think that's a pressure from the outside world, from society. It glorifies entrepreneurs, and I don't think that's right. It also encourages people to start businesses all the time, and I don't think that's right either. Honestly, it's so much easier just to go work for someone. It really is. You can clock out at the end of the day and don't have the headache. The downside of that is you don't have the flexibility. You can't come and go when you please usually. And then if you are really diligent and you work hard for years and years and years, you can earn a payoff. And I guess kind of that's what I hope for, but really I'm just sort of banking on this being a long-term, retirement strategy. Maybe my kids come and work in the business and run it someday. But yeah.
You're like, I don't know if I want to do that again. This has been a lot. I think there's some people, to me, it's a special gift being an entrepreneur. And then there's people, which I think you've shared today. I think you're one of those really creative people that the creativity always just keeps going. So that's why they tend to then find something new. Like I have an uncle who was like a serial entrepreneur because he was so creative. He just kept seeing niches for need, and he just kept starting new businesses. It was an amazing thing to observe.
So it crosses my mind all the time. I mean, I have ideas all the time, but I think I've gained enough wisdom from this to realize that now that I'm this far into it, I have so much invested in not only time, but also money. And I've learned so much that to start fresh, I would feel like I'm climbing up a mountain again. And I feel like right now I'm getting close to where it's going to get good. I'm still maybe 2 or 3 years away from paying off my business loan. I did a lot of cash funding. I funded a lot of this business with my own cash, but to grow, I had to take out a loan. And I just don't think it's worth it. I feel like I have too much momentum with this, not to get big per se, but just in the infrastructure that I built, in the processes and all that stuff, to like redo it. I know a lot of it would apply to another business, but I don't know if I don't know if I want to. Maybe 2 or 3 years in, it was easier to be, oh yeah, that was fun starting up, because starting is the easiest part. Right. Finishing is the hardest. To close out your project, to actually finish strong, on time or close, is follow through is the hardest part.
Sure.
Ideas are a dime a dozen. Oh yeah, wouldn't it be cool if we did this thing? Yeah, it would be cool. But you want to know what kind of, that's a 5 or 10 year project, right? So you have to be realistic with those, but that's not to discourage. That's just to say, no, that you're going to have to go into it with your head down. And it's a long run thing. It's not a short thing. So I kind of went into it a little more blind and a little more optimistic, and then realizing, wow, this is a much bigger thing than I was. Yeah.
Well, that's so great, Chris. It's 4 o'clock already, if you can believe it. So as you finish out, I'm going to give you a chance to share just a final word of wisdom. You've given so much great information today, but I did want to share with the students one of our local resources. It's called SCORE. And I forgot exactly what that acronym stands for, but the last 2 letters are retired executives. And these retired executives give their time to be a career business mentor to you. Chris had mentioned that he could have used a mentor early on. That's an opportunity right here in Grand Rapids that exists. So if you are one of those young people that think you'd like to get your idea going and you'd like a mentor, SCORE. So it's grandrapids.score.org. they'll help you put together your business plan. I actually used SCORE when I started my business on the side, and they were invaluable to me. Just wanted to share that out. Chris has offered to allow you to ask a question or follow up. But again, make sure you've done your research, that you're intentional with his time. But if this is something that you want to ask another question, let him teach and inspire you. So Chris at lovesicecream.com. All right, Chris, thank you so much. Anything you'd like to wrap up here?
No, I mean, I think it's a world full of opportunities, but also don't let it's such a big world. We have so much exposure to all the information. It's overwhelming, and you can't be everything to everybody. So, find the thing that you feel is right for you, and don't worry about what the other people say about it. Do you, and that's really at the end of the day, what matters. It's not about pleasing your family or someone else or society or Instagram. Just enjoy your life and work hard to find things that get you going. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's been
My
so great
pleasure.
to have you.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me.